Hi there, welcome back. I'm Coach Tanya with Critical Bench, and in this video I'm talking about menopause and libido. All right, ladies, this may be a video that you want to ask your husband to watch with you because this does impact him as well. And he may be sitting back wondering, what is going on with her? Does she want a chocolate bar and should I back out the door? Does she want a hug? Does she want me to move out? I don't know what's going on. Look, we all know that menopause can be an absolutely crazy roller coaster ride. And a lot of us are doing our very best to manage it the very best we can. But the reality is there's these hormone fluctuations happening in our body, and there's nothing linear, gradual, or progressive about them. It's dynamic. Menopause is not a linear process. It is dynamic, and hormone fluctuations vary day to day. So that is why one day you can be feeling very extreme, one end or the other. Okay, you can be laughing and joking and having a great time, and 2 hours later you're in a puddle of tears for what seems like no reason. So it's crazy town. It really is. But we're all doing our best. And one of the more sensitive issues, one of the more sensitive topics that comes into play, it's come up a lot of times in private with clients of mine, is this, the way and how menopause affects a woman's libido. And it is a sensitive, tricky topic, and it's hard to talk about, and it may be hard to talk about with your husband. So if you feel like that, this may be a video you want to watch with him, or make him watch it later, I don't know. But I do want to talk about it, as awkward as it may be. I'm going to do my best to not butcher this, okay? With menopause, a lot of women experience that it does lower their libido. And there's a few things going on that can do that. Now, every woman's experience is unique. Her menopause is her menopause. It's not the same as her mother's or her neighbors or her sisters. We may share commonalities in terms of the common symptoms, but how we experience them and how they affect us can be very, very different. But when we talk about libido, let's talk about, first of all, biologically, things that are happening in the body physically. So, estrogen levels are dropping, our bodies are getting a little more dry, and that in itself, dryness, experiencing vaginal dryness, can make intercourse uncomfortable. So if it's uncomfortable, of course you're not really excited to be in that moment because it's painful. Now, there are things you can do. There are products you can buy that will alleviate that. So that is something that I don't want to make light of it and say it's easy to fix, but it's definitely something that can be remedied rather simply, okay, by looking and look for products, because some of you may have certain sensitivities or allergies and you want to avoid things with fragrances and dyes and all that kind of stuff, but there are products that can help make sex much more pleasurable and comfortable for you. Now, as well, with hormone levels fluctuating and changing and decreasing, your ability or your sensitivity to arousal can be affected. You might not be as responsive to caressing and touching and all of that. You might need a little more time because it's just not firing like it used to, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There's really nothing wrong with you. It's what's happening. Menopause is a normal, I know, shame on me, but it's a normal process. For all the craziness that it can be, it's also a very normal process. And I think if you can just embrace what's happening, I'm not saying you have to like it, but if you can embrace what's happening and accept that, okay, this is a normal process, this is what's happening, what are things that I can do to have an impact, to have a better experience, all right? So we've talked about the dryness issue, vaginal dryness, making it painful. There's products you can get to make that easier. Arousal, that is, hormones are influencing that. And when you take out that whole physical component, hormones causing this to happen, it's no wonder that there's an emotional, mental component here, because when your body's feeling like that and responding that way, it affects how you're thinking, it affects your emotions and how you're feeling. And you can have some really low emotional moments about that. And if you could step back from yourself for a minute and put yourself in a spouse's position, chances are it's having an effect on them as well, because our husbands tend to be, problem solvers. If there's a leaky faucet, they fix it, problem solved, everything's good to go. They like to fix things. I think that they know and understand they can't fix this, but I do really believe that most of them want to understand and help in some way. So I think the number one thing you can do when discussing, or when you think about the fact that menopause, how it's affecting your libido and how it may be affecting an intimate relationship in your life, sit down and have a conversation, okay? Sit down with your husband and just say, okay, we both know that this is what's happening with me. I'm in menopause, or I think I'm in menopause, wherever it is you believe you're at in that transition. Put it all on the table, be very honest and say, this is what's happening. From a physical standpoint, from a scientific standpoint, this is what's going on in my body, and this is what's affecting it. This is what's affecting when it comes time for intimacy. This is what's going on, and this is how I'm feeling. Chances are he's going to be really on board with trying to help any way that he can. Trust me, your husband doesn't want you to feel pain or be uncomfortable when you're being intimate. And he also wants to know that your emotional state, your emotions, and how you're feeling mentally isn't because of him, that you don't find him desirable, or you don't like him anymore, or you're checked out of the marriage or the relationship. Give him the benefit of the doubt. Have a very open, honest conversation with him. Trust me, it's not going to be as hard as you think it is. It's not going to be that awkward, because you're probably going to find that your number one best support for that is, you're going to have a lot of support there in your spouse. And he's going to feel very relieved, I think. I think most men are going to feel very relieved that you did have this conversation with him. So they go, okay, this is where it's at. Here's some things I think I can do. Here's some things maybe I can't do, but I'll ask. That conversation is going to do a lot for your emotional state, and also helping you stay connected in what can be a really trying time, because menopause can be very challenging on marriages, because you're going through all of this crazy stuff. And you're doing your best, and he's sitting back watching you go through this crazy stuff and not really knowing where his part or place is in it and how to help. This is one thing. This is one way that you can say, okay, come here, let's talk about this, because I need your help here. And I think you'd be pleasantly surprised in his support. Okay, thank you for watching the video. I'm Coach Tanya here at Critical Bench. If you have any questions or comments, please reach out and leave those below, because I'd love to hear from you and get back to you. Again, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.